First off, like this video and subscribe.
Shogun in his last MMA fight, this is his retirement fight against Ihor Potieria, and we were just talking about this before we started recording. Man, I'm just gonna call it like it is. This may be wishful thinking, but I think Mauricio gets Ihor out of there. And it's not because I think Shogun is just so good still at this age, because obviously, you know, Father Time catches up with everybody. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, man. Losing to Paul Craig the way he did was kind of bad.
He got embarrassed against Paul Craig, man.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It's just like...
Paul Craig was on a big win streak, though. And Paul Craig, you got to realize, Paul Craig also beat Magomed. So, how can we hold this loss against him too bad? Then, now the loss against, the split decision loss against Ovens,
that was bad. Like, he didn't do nothing. He literally was doing leg kicks and running around.
You know, I think sometimes when these guys get this far into their career, I think all the injuries and stuff, it's too much.
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking about, before we said this, I think Shogun was beat up, what, 12 years ago?
I think his body,
like even,
physical body.
Like right before
Lyoto, remember he had the
Lyoto fight, because I was
ACL surgery.
I would say John Jones, but even before that, even before the John Jones fight. So he actually overachieved a lot to say he was beat up. He probably in Pride.
Yeah.
In Pride, he was beat up, had surgeries, and...
I remember he had to have like an ACL surgery when he first came to the UFC. And I was like, man, how this dude gonna have a career after this? Like, what can you do? Man, it's been over 10 years and he's still been fighting.
You can tell because you just look at his body type, even his gesture. It's funny nobody talk about this, but just look at his back and stuff. You could just tell he's beat up.
You can tell his body looked tight and tense, and
then he just looked like he got the love handles and stuff. Yeah. He never looked like that 12 years ago.
Because there's probably certain training he can do and certain things he can't.
But that version of Shogun 12 years ago was throwing head kicks, was throwing body kicks. Man, he was unstoppable.
You know that kick does on the game, on the first UFC game, like that jump karate kick.
Ooh.
Man, he was doing that in real life.
He used to spam that.
Man, I think he did it on Lyoto Machida, and he did it on somebody in real life too. And I was like, in the UFC, I'm like, man. But then we look at Ihor, and look, he ain't a bad fighter. He is coming off a loss to Negomarianu, and he pretty much got overwhelmed in that fight.
That fight,
did he get tired?
That fight, no, he just got overwhelmed. That fight, that was one of the worst stoppages I ever seen in my life. Nikolai was in front of him, just punching him, uppercut. The referee let that go on for like a minute too late. And then he finally stopped the fight. It was like, don't stop it now, bro. Like, you should have stopped it a minute ago. Let it keep going.
Over with now.
Yeah, let it keep going. But he just got embarrassed. Like, it was just bad.
And I think I picked him in that fight, didn't I?
No, you picked Nikolai because we looked at his record.
See, that's the thing, man. When you go look at Ihor's record, it's like, man, you beat up a bunch of... I hate to say it. I don't want to be disrespectful, but... bro, all the fights you won, you were supposed to win. Bro, look, 17-18, 0-0, 0-3, 11-5 is cool. But then look, 5-2. Bro, you were 16-2 at this point. You shouldn't have been fighting 5-2, 8-0. I mean, that's cool, but
yeah, look who he fighting against. He fighting against janitors.
Bro, 5-6, 0-0, 1-9.
And they go look at their body types.
Look, he's more athletic than those guys.
That's what it is.
And he just had more energy and he could do more things athletically. He had more athleticism than a lot of those guys. And the truth be told, a lot of those guys probably shouldn't even be commissioned to fight. Because it's like they pushing buggies or something all week and then just randomly showed up on fight night with a 1-50 record and get beat up in 30 seconds.
And a lot of them are older too. If you look at their records, one guy was like in his 40s. So you fighting somebody's granddad.
But luckily, this fight against Shogun is kind of mimics those other fights. We said all that to say that this fight kind of mimics. But the difference is the amount of
miles on Shogun body.
Well, not just that. He fighting in Brazil. It's his last fight.
That don't mean nothing.
I know, because we just saw it with Frankie Edgar. But Frankie was getting destroyed bad, though. At least Shogun had a split decision loss against Ovens. And
Shogun don't know what he want to do. If he want to wrestle, if he want to throw hands.
And that's one thing that I will say, man. Sometimes lately in Shogun's career, man, it's like he get caught in these pauses where it's like he don't know if he should throw hands or wrestle. And then he get hit, or they do something to him in the middle of him overthinking.
But sometimes he just look as if I could just take him down and just get a quick and easy win, then that'd be better for me. It's almost like he don't want to be in there.
Well, luckily this is the last fight, so we don't have to worry about none of that. I think the energy for this being the last fight in Brazil, they gave him somebody who was beatable.
You can understand, his last win came against Nogueira. Shogun, a lot of people thought he didn't win that fight. And then before that, it was Tyson Pedro. We
had a split draw with Paul Craig, who was on that big win streak. So I mean that.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Okay,
then Tyson had a torn ACL. He injured his knee during that fight. But his last good performance came against John Volante. Shogun, and that was what 2017.
I mean, that's fair.
You know what hurt Shogun?
Losing the Shell Sonic by submission.
No, them Dan Henderson wars he been in. He was never the same after that, and that's not including the injuries. We're not talking about the injuries. We're not talking about the mileage. He took some brutal damage against Dan Henderson.
But the fact of the matter is,
because the point is, if we're talking about Shogun from 13 years ago, I can put money on him and bet for him to win. But we talking about how old is Shogun?
I'm gonna ask you this, dude: who's more dangerous, Ihor or Offense St. Peru? I'm just gonna ask you a simple question. Hold on. I'm just asking.
OSP.
I'm still going with Shogun because if he lost a split decision against OSP, he should at least win a split decision against Ihor in Brazil in his retirement fight. I'm picking Shogun. I'm not saying it's the right decision, but I just gotta believe that he can pull this off. Oh, it's definitely low confidence.
All right, yeah,
100%. Man, Shogun could go in here and get beat up in 10 seconds, for all I know, because he now does fit the description of those people that we was talking about.
It's kind of hard for me to make a prediction because Shogun's older, he's beat up, he has a lot of miles on his body, but then Ihor never really proved himself in the UFC because he's 0-1. Where I guess he got that one win on the Contender Series, but that really don't count.
Even then, I wasn't overly impressed. I've been watching Shogun for a long time, man. I think Shogun has what it takes to win at least one more.
I don't. This is a low confident pick, but I think Ihor gonna win this one. But then again, if it's a split decision, then I mean,
oh yeah, if it's any type,
either or.
They've done it before in Brazil. This was Rousey versus Beth Correia, and they gave it to Shogun. So Shogun got a good track record of winning decisions, and as long as we can make it 15 minutes, because you got to realize the way Paul Craig beat him, Ihor don't fight like that. Ihor cannot do any of those things unless they 1-0 or 0-40.
Shogun just beat him, man.
Yeah, I know, but man, I'm gonna give it to him this last one, man. This, isn't one more, man.